Namaste everyone. Welcome to Hindu Center of Atlanta's special series on Chaitra Navratra. Acharya Brahmadevji has joined us from Mauritius. Acharya will help us understand the real meaning of Ramnavmi by taking the examples from the life of Maryada Purushottam Bhagwan Sri Ramchandraji. Over to Acharya.
Om Namaste Ji. Let's bring our mind to focus. Sit down straight, close the eyes gently. Deep inhale and exhale. While exhaling, we are going to chant Om 3 times, then Gayatri Mantra, which is the mantra for induction into learning. Om. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om. Gently, slowly open the eyes and keep the focus. The first day we looked about the aspects of, because during Ramnavmi we try to bring ourselves to be devotees of Sri Ramchandraji, and we try to explain and understand the concept of devotion, which is more toeing into the footprints of Sri Ramchandraji in terms of the brilliant personality, forceful personality, and the ideal person. Be him as a child, as a brother, as a husband, as a friend, as the ruler. Yesterday we looked about some of the aspects of the forceful personality which Naradji describes to Valmiki. And some of them were about how he was forceful, exemplary leader on truth, on ethics, and also in virtue. And that made the brilliant person. Today we'll look into, we are still with the Balakand. So many things to learn about that. Today we'll look about what brought about this brilliant personality amongst us. Still in the first part of the Balakand, nearing the end of it, Maharishi Valmiki, who is the author of the Ramayana. The original text of the Ramayana comes from Maharishi Valmiki. And Valmiki ji describes Sarvadi bhigatah siddhi samudra iva sindhubhi arya sarva samaschiva yadeva priyadarshana. So the word Arya comes here. And the understanding of Arya is a person who is noble in character, in actions, and in temperament. That is, in his innate, inbuilt nature. Someone who has a forceful, noble, and ethical line in his thoughts, in his words, and actions, total harmony with that. And the character of Sri Ramchandraji is more revealed in the contrary circumstances which he faced. Like when he was about to be coronated, he was told, no, you have to go to the exile. Level-headed, balanced equanimity. Then Priya Darshana. He had such a brilliant personality that people always came to him to learn. That's one aspect of his personality. And Maharishi Valmiki describes, like all the rivers which end into the sea, people came to Sri Ramchandraji just as the rivers come to the sea, and merge with the character of Sri Ram and become ideal persons again. So that retakes the concept of devotion or bhakti. If we now move ahead into the Balakand itself, we find the ground laying of the coming of Sri Ram. Maharishi Valmiki describes the kingdom of Ayodhya, where Dashrathji was ruling. Vedavit Sarva Sangraha. It says in the city of Ayodhya, everybody was knowledgeable in the Vedas. Vedavit Sarva Sangraha. Vedavit, knowledgeable, Sarva, all, Sangraha, as a collectivity. So everybody in this city of Ayodhya, from young to adult, men and women, everybody, whatever be their professions, they were knowledgeable in the Vedas. And that led to what? They didn't know only the Vedas, but they were practicing the teachings of the Vedas in their life. That is Vedavit. Practice the teachings, implement them in life. And then he says, Nana hitagnir yajwa na shudro va na taskara. So the people of Ayodhya, everybody was doing yaj daily, Agnihotra. And this takes about only 10 minutes if we do it daily. Then Brahmana Vijitendriya Danadhya Shilascha Sanyatascha Pratigriha. So the educators, when we refer to Brahman, it's more the educators, the sages, the learned people. They had total self-control, self-restraint, control over the senses. Vijitendriya. Then Dana Dhyayan Shilascha. Even though they were learned, they were scholars, they were educators, they continued on Adhyayan, that is on the learning curve. They were always on the learning curve. Life is like this, a learning process, as we say, from womb to the tomb. Then Danashcha. They were always giving in Dan and also receiving in Dan. What we find today, which we understand generally and wrongly, the Brahman to be the priest, they know only to take and they don't give. This is generally observed. This is a general comment, though not everybody is like that. But in the period of Dashrath, the rule of Dashrath, the Brahmanas, that is priest educators, learned sages, etc., they received dan, but they were also giving. And now how do they give? The gift of knowledge. Listening to people by being compassionate and also helping the needy. Shilascha. Shil means they had patience, fortitude, and the willpower. Then the next verse says, Nastiko nanriti vapi nakaschid pahu shrutaha. In Ayodhya, there was no atheist. Nastiko nanriti. There was no Nastic, that is, no atheist. Nanriti, nobody who was resorting to lies, to deceit for their own self-promotion or advancement. Everybody was truthful. Then, Kaschidda Bahu Shrutaha. They were always listening. And when somebody listens with patience and active, careful listening, then he can come to the right conclusion. Then says, Nasu yako na cha shakto na vidwana vidyate kwachit. Nobody did go to the blame game. Par ninda, apriya. Nobody was pointing fingers at others, because we should remember, now it's taught in modern management, when you point one finger to somebody, it's three fingers pointing to yourself. So that was the ideal. Then the next one says, Na shrangiro vidratsti, na vrato na sahasrada, na dina kshikta chitto, bhavyatito vapi kashtana. Everybody knew the Vedas and the Upaveda and the ancillary texts. And they were practicing that, and that's why nobody went against whatever they pledged. Vratihin, nobody went against whatever promise or undertaking that they gave. Then Sahasran se kam daan dene wala. There was nobody who was, as we say, tight-handed. Wherever they were giving, there was a right cause, they were giving the donations. And remember, donations are given to righteous causes. That is supatra. Then deenhin, nobody was, as we say, a pauper. And everybody were level-headed with brilliant intellect. Pagal athwa dukhi koi nahi tha. There was nobody who had mental problems, mental imbalance, and nobody was unhappy. So in these circumstances, what we see next, let's see at the mode of governance. It says, Vidya vinita hinmanta kushala niyatendriya Shrimantascha Mahatmana Shastradhya Drira Vikrama. Shrimant and Mahatmant, they were the key ministers of the kingdom of Ayodhya with Dashrath as the king. So all the ministers, advisors, etc., they were learned scholars. And they were learned scholars. They had their humility in that learnedness. They had full dexterity over whatever they did, karya kushal. They had control, total self-control, self-restraint. They knew what they were doing, and they never went onto the path of immoderation. That is, it was all the ideal persons. And when the ideal persons are at the top, it easily filters down to the bottom level for people at the lowest rung of the ladder to follow the example. Everybody was trying to lead by example. Then Look at the brilliant science of government which Valmiki describes was there at the time of Raghukul. Kushala vyohareshu sauhrideshu parikshita prata kalam yatha dandam dharayeshu sute vyapi. Everybody was correct and ethical in all dealings, and went to the extent that even if the close and near dear ones of the ministers were erring, the ministers were the first to take the corrective steps against these people, and these people were given the appropriate penalties for that. अन्याय करने पर अपने पुत्रों को भी दंड देने वाले थे. That was the highest level in the science of government. So that paves the way to describe the kingdom of Dashrath. Now comes, as we say, when a farmer has to undertake his farming, the first thing he does, clearing of the land, then plowing of the land, look for the best seeds and fertilizers and everything, then goes into putting the seeds in the soil, tendering to the new shoots and plants, and tendering till the crop matures and the harvest is there. It's the same procedure which Dashrath adopts during the Putreshti Yajna. He was married for a long time, didn't have any offspring. There was no issue out of the marriage, and he was worried about who would take charge after him. Then he got into conversations with the rishis, and they guided him for the Putreshti Yajna. And for the Putreshti Yajna, it was the same thing. Dashrath himself supervised all the preparations for the Putreshti Yajna. He gave the directions, and under the advice of the rishis, especially Vashisht was with him. And Sumant told him, there's one Shringa Rishi who is well accomplished, highest in both the worldly sciences and spiritual sciences. You have the Putreshti Yajna done by him. And they go to meet Shringa Rishi and they come back with him. And Shringa Rishi stays with him for some time. Why? To guide him on how the food and drinks, on the behavioral attitude and everything. And there was observance of brahmacharya celibacy also. Because after Shringa Rishi comes to Ayodhya, stays in the kingdom of Dashrath. In the 8th chapter of the sub-chapter of the Balakan, it says, Tata Kale Bahutithe. Then Vasanta Samanu Prapte Radji. That is, after staying for some time, the preparations, putting the Yajvedi, getting all the things started in the month of Chaitra. And now Ram is born in Chaitra again. That is after 12 months. So there was at least a minimum of 3 months where Shringa Rishi was supervising their foods and drinks. And also what was the, as we say, physical, mental, moral, spiritual, social environment in which Dashrath and his wives were staying. And that goes within the framework of the Garbhadhan Sanskar during the Vedic era. Yaj was performed using mantras of Atharva Ved, and the verse number 4, 8-4, in the Balkan says, Ishtam teham karishyami putrevam putra karanat atharva shirasi potre prote mantre siddham vidhanata atharvin shirasi. Ishtim teham atharvin shirasi. So the mantras of Atharva Ved were chanted during the Yaj. And Atharva Ved, why? Because Atharva Ved is the Ved from which Ayurveda is derived. Then verse number 7 of the same 8th subchapter of the Balakam says, Divya payasam sampurna patrim patnimitra priyam. So there was the Divya payasam, which is referred to as the kheer. It was special preparation by whom? Dhanyamaro Vardhanam. That is, those who were knowledgeable in the medical sciences, Ayurveda. And the explanation of this verse 8 gives Khir Vidwano Dwara Yajyasthit Nirmit Ki Gai. That is, using the procedure of the yaj, careful preparation. Yaj not limited to the physical fire, but the procedure of preparing the food during that period was also being taken care as, just as we take care in preparing the yaj. So if we go into that, it goes with the same concept of Garbhadhan Sanskar. When you desire to have sons, the food and drinks are specifically described, which boost the potency of the husband, and as well as take care of the health of the wife. So food and drinks form an essential point of this. And then when the yaj is done, the wives take the food, and it's referred there, but the food is not taken only once. It's taken for the 3-month period, because we see the yaj. Now they decide to do the yaj in Chaitra. Before that, a period, Shringa Rishi was already there. It takes another 3 months after performing Putreshti yaj to take care of the physical, mental, moral health of Dashrath and the wives, Sumitra, Kaikeyi, and Kaushalya. And everything, single thing is taken care. That's why I was referring to that period just as the farmer who goes for planting the seeds and taking the harvest. So this is the concept. If I personally feel, if we adopt that in day-to-day life of today, we'll create a new generation. The new kids which would be born would be as brilliant as Sri Ramchandra. That would be the lesson for today. Let's take it, prepare the ground first, then welcome, go into relationships, get the offspring, welcome the offspring, which would be brilliant persons as in the making of Sri Ram. That would be the lesson of today. We'll look into some more details tomorrow for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Acharyaji. We will meet again tomorrow on the day 4 for this series. See you next time.